What's up, everybody? Welcome into DodgerHeads, presented by DodgerBlue.com, part of the Medium Large Sports Network. My name is Jeff Spiegel, joined today by Greg Bergman, because we have some breaking news on a Sunday morning, Greg. The Dodgers have signed Tanner Scott to a 4-year deal worth $72 million, inking the high-leverage reliever that they had been seeking all offseason. And yet, Greg, the offseason of the Dodgers continues.
This is so much fun, Jeff. I love this as a Dodgers fan so much because they're getting whoever they want, whenever they want. And Tanner Scott was the one that I wanted. I remember earlier in the beginning of offseason, it was like, would you prefer Devin Williams or Tanner Scott? I was always on the Tanner Scott train. So this is just amazing. And really, this is how the Yankees felt in the 90s, right? That's the only thing I can compare it to right now.
Yeah, it has to. And I imagine this is how the rest of the league felt when the Yankees did what they in the 90s. I mean,
probably.
Like, MLB has a villain, and we can get to that in a second. But I mean, that's ultimate. Like, the Dodgers, they get Sasaki, people are mad. I joked because then I was like, just wait until Tanner Scott signs, which I thought was going to happen. I had no inside info. And then it signs. Greg, like, we're recording this at 8:15 in the morning on Sunday. Twitter is going to be mad today.
Yeah, no, it already is, Matt. So, the comment section in anything is always the best part of any like tweet or post or whatever it happens to be. And when Jeff passed and put it out, my favorite one at the top of it was, going forward, just tell us who doesn't sign with the Dodgers. Easier that way. Thanks.
Yeah, seriously.
They're getting everybody, Jeff. And Tanner Scott look, he was a dude that could maybe easy is the right word, easily get out Shohei Ohtani. Yeah. Well, if that's the case, just go out and get him, and then you just have to face him.
Totally. Tanner Scott, 30-year-old left-handed pitcher, so the left-handed thing is going to be helpful for the Dodgers. Obviously, they have Alex Vesia, Anthony Bonda, but now at the back end of a bullpen that has Michael Kopech, Evan Phillips, Blake Treinen, and now Tanner Scott, you've got the highest leverage lefty available. Over the last 2 seasons, he's thrown 150 innings, a combined ERA a tick over 2. He led the league in average exit velocity last year. Walk rate is kind of the thing to keep an eye on. Now the Dodgers went out and got a guy like Blake Snell who had similar issues. And what I've learned this offseason, Greg, is that maybe not every walk rate is created equal, I guess. Like Blake Snell wants to live on the edges, and he wants swing and miss, and he wants strikeouts because he figures, if I don't give up hard contact, which Tanner Scott doesn't, then walks aren't going to kill you because the ball isn't going to get put in play all that often, and it's not going to go for extra bases. And so realistically, the Dodgers, who have added to a starting rotation that is now the best in baseball, I think have clearly cemented themselves as now also having the best bullpen as well.
Yeah, no, it's. I don't think it's close that they have the best bullpen, best starting rotation, best 1 through 9, and then in the batting order, they have best everything. The one thing that I guess I would be kind of concerned about is that their defense has taken a hit at this point. If Mookie Betts does end up at shortstop, which I still don't think he does, I think he goes over to the second base, and Edman or Sung Kim or somebody is going to be at that shortstop position, or even Miguel Rojas. So besides that, their defense is shaky to me. I mean, at third base, while Max Muncy got better, he's still not a great defender. Michael Conforto is not a great defender. Teoscar, we've seen what Teoscar can do. He's not a great defender. So that's the one thing that I'm seeing that is anything that could possibly be like, okay, that's wrong with the Dodgers. Their defense isn't elite at like the top level.
Yeah.
It's still good.
Real quick on Tanner Scott, $72 million, $18 million a year. We haven't gotten word. I think every baseball fan now just is waiting for how much of this is deferred. What's the real present value of this? But just on paper, he's a 30-year-old left-handed pitcher. One of the projections was 4 years, $56 million. He ends up getting $72 million. That's less than the $20 million a year that he was reportedly asking for here. But are you comfortable with those numbers? A 4-year deal for a reliever, $18 million a year?
So normally I would say absolutely not. I think for $18 million a year for a reliever, but that's just the way baseball's going. And the salaries are going way, way up. And Tanner Scott is the best person that is out there. It is somebody that is, look, like you were talking about, now you have you have the lefty righty switch every single way that you can possibly think about it, at highest leverage of lefty relievers. So yes, I'm okay, but it's also not my money. But at the same time, I'm sure there's going to be deferrals. If it's 4 for 72, you've got to think there's probably about 20 that's going to be deferred, right? I mean, they're going to do that. So it's going to be a much nicer looking contract for the Dodgers once it's all said and done.
Yeah. And again, you just look at the totality of the bullpen that the Dodgers have now built. The back end of Kopech, Phillips, Trinan, and Scott in some order. We're talking about a guy in Vesia who had like a 2 ERA last season. He doesn't even really crack that back four. He's fifth on that list. You've got Brusdar Graterol, who will be worked in at some point, Edgardo Enriquez as well. Anthony Bonda, who was very, very good last season. Not to mention what they do with all these starting pitchers. Like there's been talk of what Roki Sasaki's role might be, at least to begin the season. If he's on an innings limit, do they work him out of the bullpen a little bit? You've got all the young starters like Ben Kasparius, who pitched well out of the bullpen last year as well. I mean, you're stacked with Dustin May, Tony Gonsolin, even Bobby Miller. Like they have all of this talent and guys that throw hard, have nasty stuff. And we saw how important the bullpen is last postseason. And so I'm wondering, Greg, if not that there's a philosophical shift of the Dodgers, but knowing that maybe a bullpen is more dependable than a starting rotation over the course of a full season and heading into the postseason and in big games, I wonder if this is even slightly a shift in philosophy, because we haven't seen them give out this type of deal to a relief pitcher. And you can make a case they didn't, quote unquote, need it with the guys they already had in the bullpen.
Yeah, they didn't technically need it, but I live by the fact that a bullpen is insanely volatile. No matter what you did last year, that doesn't mean that's what the type of pitcher you're going to be next year. So your bullpen at the beginning of the year is never the same as your bullpen at the end of the year. So all these guys that we're talking about, how amazing this bullpen is, there's going to be 3, 4, or 5 guys that just either are not healthy, are not pitching the same ways they did last year, or they just fall apart, whatever it happens to be. They're not going to be there at the end of the year. And it's somebody that you hope it's not the big names that you just went out and got, like Tanner Scott and Michael Kopech. But no matter what, it's so volatile that I think they're kind of living with, we're going to get as much as we can in this situation, and whatever sticks by the end of the year, that's the pieces that we don't have to go out at the trade deadline and go get somebody else. I'm always worried about bullpen. And so, but this is the best I've ever felt about a bullpen, period. I mean, it doesn't seem like there's any cracks in there at all.
Yeah. Yeah. And you could say the same thing about the rotation. Obviously, there are injury concerns, but just the depth of arms that they have, especially once guys like Shohei Ohtani come back and are available. The Dodgers on the pitching side are going to be remarkable, which, as you pointed out, and then you turn around the other half, the next half inning, and it's Ohtani, Betts, Freeman, and company in the lineup. It's a good time to be a Dodgers fan. It's a good time if you're a troll on social media. As a Dodgers fan, it's a good time if you like a good online argument, because, as I said earlier, people are going to be mad today on social media.
I don't believe in this whole Dodgers are breaking baseball thing. I get it. I'm a Dodger fan, so I'm obviously going to be very pro Dodger in all these signings. But at the same time, they're not doing anything that any other team can go out and do themselves. They can go out and defer as much money as they want to defer, or they can go out and sign and just spend a little bit more and get somebody. Baseball is not broken by any means, but the Dodgers are just, as they've shown since Andrew Friedman and Mark Walter and all of them have taken over this team, they're just better at it than everybody else. They still, and by the way, they still have an amazing farm system. I don't know how they have an amazing farm system, but they do. There's so many dudes everywhere. They know how to build from top to bottom, and they find the loopholes and they just exploit it until they say, okay, that no longer works. Then they'll find another one.
Yeah. They spend the most money, but they are also the best at developing players. They are the best at identifying talent. They are the best at drafting, and they and they are in a desirable location of Los Angeles. They have the success already. They have consistency and stability that a lot of teams can't offer. The one thing I just keep coming back to is keep in mind that none of this, unfortunately, guarantees anything. Like the Dodgers are going to be an unbelievable regular season team, but we've seen the Dodgers just a few years ago have one of the greatest regular seasons in Major League history, and yet not ultimately end in a World Series. And so, yes, the Dodgers are going to be amazing. They're going to set themselves up with the best chance probably ever to win a World Series. But as we know in baseball, for all the people that are hating the Dodgers right now, keep in mind that, there's a decent chance that the Dodgers don't win the World Series just because that's how Major League Baseball has its postseason set up.
Sure, it's very possible. And by the way, just this last year, they were one game away from being knocked out by the Padres in the division round. Yep. So they had to win the final two. Like it was still a possibility. They're, like you say, they are going to set themselves up so that they have every single piece that they do. They have no excuses whatsoever. Not that they have no starting pitching, not that they have no bullpen. They don't have the batting order. And I guarantee you, if they feel that somewhere, some piece on the defense is not doing as well, they'll go out and get somebody else to fix that spot, just to shore that up. Like when they did with Kevin Kiermaier, he didn't play, but they were like, okay, if we need to figure out our center field defense, we got a guy.
Yeah. That's Greg Bergman of ESPN LA, also the host of the Blue Review on their YouTube channel throughout the Dodgers season. Greg, thanks for getting up early and hopping on with me this morning. Folks, if you're joining us, we will be live tonight. Matthew Moreno and I will be live tonight breaking down this move, the Roki Sasaki move. And I mean, as crazy as it sounds, are there more moves to come? Is Kike Hernandez next? Is Clayton Kershaw next? Is there a Dave Roberts extension yet to come? All these things and more. So enjoy the rest of your day, everyone. As always, we appreciate you watching us, and go Dodgers.
Go Blue.